What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Champion Mindset, Finding the Way. I'm your host, Tommy Stiles. With me, Dom Cardone, and today we have our first guest on this segment. So Jordan Earl, all the way from the future in New Zealand. We got like 3 time zones working here, so this one took some finagling to get scheduled. But Jordan is a competitor. He just competed at New Zealand Nationals. He also works with Dom as well as I do, so we got a whole little team thing going here. Jordan, fresh off Nationals, how was it?
Oh, it was good, bro. It was so good. It's probably my most enjoyable experience at a show for sure. It was awesome, bro.
Why was it enjoyable? Come on, bro. Let's give us some details.
So going into the prep, I had all these like expectations, and I had like a goal, and I wanted to achieve this. The night before the show, I said to my wife, I was like, nothing I wanted from this, like at the start of this prep, nothing, like all the stuff I wanted, I couldn't give a fuck anymore. I got everything I needed from this experience. Anything else is a bonus. Of course, you still want to do well, but I just got I'm sure we'll get into this, but I got so much from it. And just like the show, so the show was meant to start at 2 p.m. It ended up starting at 3. We went on stage till 7:30 p.m. But I had like a fucking army in the audience, like an army. We had to walk up these stairs to go on stage. And I just started walking up the stairs, and I just heard like a fucking roar. Like it was so loud. I just got this, like something came over me, and I just like, fucking come on, like, you know what I mean? And we just got on stage, and it was just like the amount of adrenaline I had, I've never had that before. And I think it's just, I haven't competed for so long, and I felt so ready, and I knew I was ready. And I just had this like confidence about me. And I don't know what you guys are like when you're on stage, but like when you're getting ready to go on stage, but I'm like backstage, and I always kind of feel like, fuck, do I still look good? Do I still look good? And because the way we did the loading, when you start eating things, a little bit different, you start feeling like, oh, fuck. And I remember like being backstage, I looked at my calf because I had longs on. I was like, okay, now I'm still good. And then when we got on stage, I looked down at my quads, and I was like, oh, fuck. And then I opened up, and I just heard it, and I felt it, and I just had this amazing amount of confidence, and I felt really good. I just felt it's really hard for me to explain why, but it was a reward. It was a very rewarding experience for sure. And there's a lot of like, it was also the first time first time me and you have done a prep, Dom. Oh, we did that prep a few years ago, but it's the first time we got to like finish one because the COVID stuff. And it was just fun. It was just fun, man. Like updating you after every meal. Okay, what's next? All right, let's eat that. Watching my body change, and just being that on it with everything. It was just cool. It was just fun. It just felt like I was just doing a prep with my mate. And yeah, and it went, and also because it went really well. Like I was also really happy with the look, and we got feedback after the regional, and basically we delivered exactly what they asked for. I don't think it could have gone any better in terms of the package. I actually really liked the first package, but they didn't want that, and we bought what they asked for. And so just everything that was good went well.
Yeah. Jordan, so everybody knows, when was the last time you competed? And give us and then we'll start to dig deeper. When was the last time you competed? And start to tell us, why did you have time off? What went on, in between that time period? Just give me 1 second. Let me make sure the dryer doesn't go back on. Sorry, guys. I have the dryer right there, and it goes on and off when it's done. So yeah, so tell us, when was the last time you competed? And just fill us in on the gaps between then and now.
Okay, so my last show was in 2020. I decided, and my show before that was 2018, and that was prior to this one. That was probably my best look. I won the nationals, blah blah blah. And then I planned to change federations, to come back to NZIFB or IFBB, NPC, whatever you call it, there where you are, and do the 2020 show. Now, 20 weeks out, I was in a good spot, but we went into lockdown, which wasn't ideal. We went into lockdown for about 8 weeks. So I couldn't really train properly. I had not much equipment, blah, 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 whatever excuses. And my mum got re-diagnosed with cancer during that lockdown. So I was a bit sorry. I've got my my times mixed up. Sorry, 20 weeks out was when I started prep. Prior to that, we had the lockdown, so I didn't train for like 10 weeks. I did not lift one weight. We couldn't, like in New Zealand, we couldn't leave our houses, and I just ate whatever. I looked like the worst I've never looked that bad since I started bodybuilding. But in my head, I was like, I'm determined to make this work. I'm not going to let this lockdown and mum being sick stop me from, I just had it in my head. I'm going to make this show happen. And we went into lockdown again, 10 weeks out, and the look wasn't good. I did the show and I won my class and whatever, but I was like not happy at all with the look, but I was proud of myself for finishing it. And I know mum used to love me competing, so it was kind of like, partly for her, partly for myself. And then I think like I contacted you, Dom, like leading up to that show, saying like, as soon as the show's done, I don't care how it goes, we're going to get to work and we're going to compete next year, and we're just going to prep the whole year like it's prep. And we did. However, the show got cancelled like 6 weeks out, whatever. Who cares? And then mum was still sick. Basically, when mum got re-diagnosed in 2020, we got told like, you can't get rid of this now. Her cancer had gone away and it came back. And usually when it comes back, the type she had, you can't get rid of it, but you can prolong it. So that's all we were doing. She was okay. Nothing was like, it was spreading, but very slowly. It was going, I don't like to say it was going well, because you can never say it's going well, but it was going as well as it could. And then last year, no, not last year, it was the year before last, it started spreading quite badly, and it went to her brain and it went to other areas. So usually when that happens, you don't have long to live. So we were like, shit, what do we do? Like looking into more treatments, blah, blah, blah. At this point, this was also timed with, there was a lot of deaths in bodybuilding. And because mum was sick and I see mum sick, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I spoke to you, Don. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I still want to live the lifestyle, but I don't want to do this anymore. So I had probably like a year and a half of, we were still working together, but I don't even like to say that, because I wasn't, I was focusing on other things, and I was probably doing 80% of what you're asking me. So I'm just trying to get this all timed right. And then anyway, last year, around this time is when mum passed away. She went downhill real quick. There was probably like a 6 weeks period where she went from being like normal to just, it was bad, to the point where I was spoon feeding her, blah, blah, blah. And during all this time as well, we were looking into other treatments. I was personally funding her medical expenses, which were, from memory, it was up to about 4K a week for quite some time. We did it like a give a little, but obviously that only lasts so long when you're talking about that much money. And she didn't like me doing that. She was very against it, but it made me proud. And I said to her, I was like, Mum, you have to remember, like, I'm doing this. This is for you. I want you to live the best life you can, but also I have to live with this after this is all said and done. And knowing I did what I could, it's going to help me in a selfish way. But it did, and it definitely made a difference. So we prolonged as long as we could. Mum passed last year, the week of nationals, actually. So every time I do nationals, it's like right on the week. And then we're just trying to deal with that. And then I didn't travel I love traveling. I hadn't traveled for like 3 years because I didn't want to travel while mum wasn't well, because you never know what can happen. And if I'm overseas and something happens, what am I going to do? And at the same time, I was like, I don't know how, mum might have 2 weeks, mum might have 2 months. That's pretty much what we knew. She might have a year. So I wanted to spend as much time as I could, but obviously that had gone, and I went to the States and we caught up in Miami. And I remember saying to you, I think I had texted you about it a little bit, but I said, bro, like, I think I want to do a show.
That was back in March or April this year.
Yeah, I think February. I think it was February or March. But I came twice. So the first time I was like, I think I want to do a show, bro. And this was after like how many conversations about I'm done.
It was a lot.
And I've posted the photos. Like, I look fucking terrible because I was kind of like, do you reckon like it's doable? And you said, yeah, it's fucking doable. Let's do it. And we did it. I treated the prep like I was gonna 100%, I was all in, but I wasn't. I still had doubts in my head until probably 10 weeks out, if I'm honest. Nothing changed in my application, but I was kind of like just going with it. And then once we hit 10 weeks out, I was like, nah, okay, I'm so close now, I've got to finish it. But during that prep, a lot of stuff, you know, when you're prepping and you're exhausted and you're taking this, that, and you have a lot of time, you're doing your cardio, you have a lot of time to yourself. You spend a lot of time in your own head. And I fucking got faced with so much shit. Like so much shit I didn't know I hadn't dealt with. I remember saying, like, prior to the prep to my wife and stuff, I was like, I can't believe how well I've dealt with this. Like, I thought I'd be way worse. I thought I'd be blah, blah, blah. The only reason I wasn't was because I hadn't fucking dealt with it. And I didn't even realize I hadn't. So I'm looking back to how I was like end of last year after mum passed, even before mum passed, because, you know, Dom, you know what it's like, bro. It doesn't, they don't just pass away. It's a process, and you see them struggling, you see them crying because their results go bad, or their hospital appointment, they can't get a scan, they have to wait an extra week, and they're stressed, and there's all that shit, all those sleepless nights waiting for the results, like all that stuff adds up, and that stresses you out. So the way I was acting, like towards the end of last year, start of this year, like I was going out every 2 weeks, drinking alcohol with my friends, like thinking like, oh no, I'm just having fun. I'm not bodybuilding now. Like, this is all good. I'm just enjoying it. I'm working hard. I'm making money. I deserve it. Fuck that. That's not me. I'm looking back at that now. I'm like, what a fucking loser. That's not that. Look, and if that's how someone deals with it, that's okay. That's just not how I deal with shit. I never have. I drink alcohol once, twice a year maximum. Sometimes never. It's just not what I do. So I was looking back now and I'm like, fuck, I was just running without even realizing it. And I've talked to friends and they're like, give yourself a break, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. But it just shows me that there's stuff to work on. And it's honestly, the prep helped me with that. And I feel like I'm so much further ahead now up here, more than anything. And for me, that's priceless. And that's more important than any placing or any like look you put on stage, because that's the kind of shit that's going to help you, you know, as a human being going through life, not just the meathead going to the gym. I mean, I love being a meathead, but in this instance, being a meathead helped me. So that's pretty much the rundown of how it all went.
Yeah, so I want to share with everybody. He says he was following 80%. So even during all that, Jordan was still checking. He never missed a check-in. He did stick to 80% of his plan, but he had no intentions of competing. He was still doing. He was doing things that nobody else would do when their mother's pretty much, you know, dying and going through these treatments. And, you know, me and Tommy have spoken about this. You know, Jordan, how you said you dealt with the things with drinking. You know my story. I did the same thing for a very long time. But you got to give yourself a little grace with that, because now you're in a place where you had the prep. Up here, you're doing much better. So give yourself a little grace with that. You don't got to call yourself a loser. That was a part of your life. Every part of our life serves a purpose, you know, from, you know, mom being sick to mom passing away to how we deal with it to where we are now. And that's setting, like you just said, that's callousing yourself for later on. Now, when I say you followed 80% and you still stuck with it, why didn't you just stop everything? Stop dieting. Why didn't you just say, fuck it, let me just focus on mom, or just completely fuck off? What made you want to stick to some sort of a regimen and keep yourself up to some sort of standard?
If I had just said fuck it, I wouldn't have been able to deal with shit at all. So I still trained 4 or 5 times a week. Some of those sessions were horse shit, but it was just a matter of just going to the gym and doing it. Sometimes we had fucking some of the best sessions ever. It was just in terms of the diet, I said 80%. It was probably actually more strict than that. 80% is probably the things I was doing. Was on like a Friday or Saturday every 2-3 weeks, we'd go out and drink and fucking go to the casino and have fun with my mates. And then a couple times a week, I would go and have fucking sushi with a friend or something like that. And then I would have a meal on the weekend. So it wasn't even that bad. It just feels, when you're used to being on, that feels way off. You know what I mean? But in terms of why, yeah, like I said, and I spoke to you about this at the time. I said, like, this is, I know I'm not being perfect, and I don't want to like waste your time, but it's fucking helpful, man. Like it's helping me. The structure of everything is helping me. Even when even the week of mum's passing, I still stuck to my plan. Obviously we had family meals every night, so we'll just eat with my family. I might go buy them burgers, or a lot of people bought us food, so we'll just eat that. But in terms of during the day, I stuck to the structure, because the structure for me is everything. If I don't have that structure, I don't even want to think about it, basically. So yeah, it was all for me at that point in my life. It was a lot of it was just for mental reasons, but also if I said fuck it and I got real fat and slobby, I know what that's going to do to me mentally, and I also knew that that's another hole I'm going to have to dig myself out of later, and it's not fun, man. It's not fun having to start completely again from scratch, physically as well as mentally. So yeah, that's pretty much why.
I've always said that like the best way to deal with things like that or losing a job, relationship, but like just start dieting, get in the best shape of your life. Like at least you're doing something good for yourself, and that will help you through your healing process of whatever you're trying to heal through. Like, and like you said, Jordan, the structure of having something to be accountable to is at least something to grab onto when you feel like you don't have anything else to grab onto in your life. You know what I mean?
For sure. And like I was saying again the other day, this since the show's done, even leading up to the end of the prep, I was getting really excited about improving. And I swear this is like the first time in years that I've been genuinely excited for something just for me. It's got nothing to do with anyone else. If I think about back to all the stuff I've been excited about prior to now, it's always been about like someone else or doing something for someone or a client winning something or something like that. This has been the first time where it's like selfishly it's about like I'm just excited for what I can do for me, for no one else. And I feel like everyone needs that. You need that. That's doesn't matter what it is. Everyone's got their own thing, but you have to have something that's you have to have some selfish shit that that gets you going. You know what I mean? And I'm noticing it in my own just day to day whatever. I feel a lot more positive. So yeah, like I said, I just got so much from the experience. I didn't have any. That wasn't even a thought in my mind at the start of it. So yeah, it's cool. It's a good feeling.
Tommy, do you have anything?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't want to. I have plenty of questions. I just don't want to interrupt you, so I'll let you go next.
Oh no, you're good. Fire away whenever. I just wanted to ask because last week's episode, Dom and I talked about kind of confidence in coaching, but also controlling your emotions in coaching. So, what did your prep do for your confidence in your coaching? Just for the listeners, Jordan has a very successful coaching business in New Zealand, works with many athletes. I'm sure you probably had athletes in the same show that you did just this past weekend, right? So
17.
17? Yeah.
17?
Well, I had 17 across the day. 14 were in my show and 3 were in another show, another nationals down the line.
I had no idea all that was even going on.
I know.
See, that is, to me, that is like insanity that you accomplished all that, because I had 4 compete in a weekend last weekend and I wasn't even competing and it was like everywhere. So props to you. But how did your prep alter your confidence in your coaching, and what did it do for you emotionally?
I find because I was prepping, and so I did this prep in secret. I didn't tell anyone. And there was a lot of reasons for that. I kind of wanted to show people, especially here, that you don't need that fucking external validation every day from Instagram to do a job. I just wanted to do the job, literally just do the prep, show up fucking peeled, and I didn't post once. I just did my thing. And a lot of people respected that, and a lot of especially like the older bodybuilders have been like, oh, so you can do a show without the whole world knowing, blah blah blah. So I said, yeah, well, that's what I wanted to do. So they didn't know I was prepping, so there were times where it was a little bit difficult in terms of like, oh, they would complain to me or they would be saying the same things with like, oh, I don't feel lean. I was like, fuck, you're lean, like just follow the plan. Or like, oh, I feel like shit. I'm like, oh, you don't have any idea. This guy's got me shredded glutes at 10 weeks out. You've got no idea. But yeah, in terms of confidence, I generally find I just get more confident every year, regardless of. I wouldn't say it got me any more confident than, it maybe got me a little bit more confident in terms of like, okay, I've presented a package better than I ever have. So that gives you that confidence of like, especially working with guys. Most of them, like 80% of my clients is female wellness bikini, some figure, but I do have guys as well. And it kind of gives you that confidence to be like, harden the fuck up and do what you need to do. If I can do it, you can do it, kind of thing. But I mean, most of my guys are solid, so I haven't needed to be like that. But yeah, I just get more confident. The biggest confidence boost I got was being able to compete with that many athletes on the same day. That was something that I didn't compete a few years because I had bigger teams, but now that I've done it, I'm like 17. I don't think it'll get bigger than that for one day, like one across one day, even though it was nationals. But yeah, so that was probably the biggest thing for me, was just being able to do it with them. But in saying that, a reason why I could do it with them is partly because they were just awesome. Like I was blessed this year with with a team that was, I mean, I've had some nightmares over the years, but this year they're just all cool people, and they respected that I was competing, so they were trying to, just be as accommodating as possible. So it was cool. Like it sounds more stressful than it was. It really wasn't that stressful at all, if I'm honest with you. So yeah.
I have never had 17 in a day, and I never will plan that either.
Well, I didn't know it was 17 till after the show. I didn't count. I didn't want to know. And it was only because there was 3 national events on the one day, and that never happens. But I think they did it on purpose. And then I counted after the show. I was like, fuck, 17 people. Yeah. It was good though. And it was good because it went well for everyone too. Like you think 17, a few might, but no, it was I just had to be really on it with them and be like, no one update me after 7 a.m. If anyone's up late, like, I'm going to be pissed. So everyone had everything done on time. I was waking up super early anyway, because you know what it's like when you're close to a show. I was waking up at like 5 a.m. every day. So it was all good. Happens every time. Actually, this prep was the best I've ever slept. Usually when I go to bed, I can't sleep and I get hungry and I'm restless. I was finding I'd go to bed and I'd just be out like a light, but I'd wake up at midnight, 2 o'clock, and 4 a.m. every night without fail, sweating, and then go to the toilet.
Jordan, so competing at the nationals and having, even if it was one person, you're competing for you won your class, you just missed the overall where you would have gotten your pro card. How did you feel mentally during that day? Like, you're worried about yourself, you're worried about how you're looking, you're doing what I'm telling you to do. Where were you stressed at any point? Were you
took the stress off? You took all the stress off. You took all the stress off. So I had no stress. I had full trust in what you were telling me to do. I didn't give a fuck. People would text me, "Oh, have you started loading yet?" I'm like, bro, I'm not talking to you about this. Text me Wednesday, Thursday. Fuck, what do you mean? Have you started eating? Have you started loading? So everyone wants to know what you're doing. I just didn't reply to them. Because I'm like, where do you start to peak, man? Like, well, no, like, I haven't started eating. I haven't stopped eating this whole fucking prep. So on the day I felt good. On the day I felt really good. I was excited. I was a little bit I started getting a little bit nervous, which is weird for me. But I was just lying around. I was excited. I was real tired as well. I was real tired on the show day because I woke up quite early on the day of the show and I couldn't get back to sleep because I was just like, oh, it's the day's here kind of thing. But I was like kind of like dozing, but I wasn't like sleeping. So yeah, I was more so excited. The girls were all going up on stage and they were all doing really well. They were all coming off and they were like having, a lot of them had gold medals. So I was like, fuck yeah, this is mean. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh shit, it's my turn. Oh fuck. It's my turn. I kind of knew who I was going to be up against. So I felt confident. Like I felt really confident. No, that's not in a respectful way as well. The cool thing about the super heavyweight class this year was the biggest class that I've ever seen. Usually there's like one person in it. There was 6 people. One guy, there was meant to be 7. One guy pulled out. He got sick the week of the show. So it was a big class and they're all big guys. So I knew like I have to be on the money, but I just knew I was just so confident in what we brought. I just didn't care. I didn't care who was going to be there. I knew the biggest challenge would be in the overall, and I wasn't going into that expecting to win it. I was just going in there hoping I'll give him a good run, and that's exactly what we did. We've competed before in the past. He's a really good guy, and he hasn't competed for 5 years. The last time he competed was against me in 2018 when I beat him at nationals, and he just looks like he's just been in the cave for 5 years doing everything possible to get huge, and he's just fucking just monster, like a monster. So it was cool. But yeah, it was more excitement, man. And I didn't have too much stress or worries. everyone was cool. I mean, there was little things here and there, but that's pretty normal. I thought it would be way worse with that many athletes, but no, they were all good. They were all good.
Yeah, that's what I would have expected. Shit.
Yeah, yeah. But that was good.
So I can attest to that too. Like, there's the way Dom handles the final week. There's no, I mean, I did 3 shows in 6 weeks, one of them being USA's. There's no stress. It's chill. I mean, I don't sleep a lot, but I was actually getting a good night's sleep the night before the shows, which is very key. I learned how key sleep is the night before a show for nailing your peak. But I think, Dom, we've talked about that in previous episodes, how the coach can dictate the athlete's confidence level based off how organized and how structured they keep things. And this prep for me was the first time I've ever been able to just send my pictures and not really think about them, because it's not my job to think about them. Like, maybe they're good, maybe they're bad, I don't care, flat, full, whatever. Like, just let you do your thing and I'll just execute. And I think when you have that in play, especially Jordan, like, I coach too, we all coach, like, when you can just not worry about your own shit and worry about your clients, and your stuff becomes white noise that you just execute top to bottom on a sheet of paper, that breeds confidence, because you haven't had any time to second guess your stuff because somebody else has been doing the whole thing for you. So that final week, the structure that the coach provides, everybody looks for the peak week secrets. That's it, because if a coach provides that structure, that's stress management. If you are not stressed going into the show and you got all the fat off prior to that week, you really don't need to do much.
Yeah. And especially when you see, like, you said you didn't look at your photos. I always look at my photos before I send them. And I kind of like have them, I can't help it. And I'm like, oh yeah, fuck, these are mean, or these are shit. But I was seeing my body changing, and like in a good way. And it just, that as well gives you confidence. And the way Dom, as you know, Tommy, like, updating after every single meal. And I was like, fuck, every time we're updating, things are getting better and better. And then I was starting to see trends. Like, I think it was like on the Wednesday, I was like, okay, we're quite flat, but I'm dry. So I see what he's doing here. He's getting me dry as shit. And then he's going to put, and that's exactly what he did. And then he pushed it. And then basically, like, to give you a little rundown, we did the regional, and I came in like super hard, super dry. Everyone was talking about the conditioning, but the judges were like, you're too flat. You need to be way fuller because you're tall and you're long and blah blah blah. Fair enough, whatever. So that was the goal going into nationals, and we came in. I weighed in about 4 kilo heavier, which is what, like 10 pounds heavier.
That's about
But
10, because it's like 2 pounds
2.2
per kilo.
2.2, yeah, 2.2. So I wasn't any. I don't think I was any. Like, I think I was. The conditioning was just as good, but basically how I felt and how I felt I looked, I feel like in terms of fullness, like, you pushed it to about 98% without any changes to the condition, which, like, that's fucking hell. And the thing is, that didn't happen till literally an hour or two before stage. It just gradually throughout the day gradually got better and better and better, to the point where I was like, fuck, I feel like I'm gonna explode. And yeah, it was real cool to, like, not just look at it but like feel it. So it was a lot of fun. But yeah, that things like that just take the stress off, and then I didn't have to worry. And then I'm like, okay, well, who do I need to look at? Yeah, you're good. Okay, you need to eat a bit more food. Blah 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 blah. And then I had a few of my girls are in the overall. None of them won overalls this year. They didn't get pro cards, but they were very very close. And a lot of them, it was their first year ever competing, and they were like second, 1 point off pro cards in wellness and bikini. In wellness. And but my bikini girl was she's competed for a few years, but being that close to a pro card first year competing, she was very stressed because she also had high expectations of herself, and she had a lot of people telling her you're going to go pro. And I kind of just had to say, like, look, just embrace this. This is your first year. You look fucking awesome. The girl you're competing with has already won a pro card. She's coming back to compete as an amateur. Don't worry about it. And I actually think she should have won. But like things like that, they get stressy about that, but most of them were fine. So yeah, it wasn't a stressful day.
you mentioned, people telling your clients you could have won and whatnot and all this other shit. I remember you didn't let me post any photos till that first show. I think it was the night before you posted. I think it was a glute shot or whatever it was. Did you notice a difference? And I know you're not a person who looks for validation, but did you notice a difference in your mindset and your focus without having all that noise? I mean, only those who knew you knew. But without social media and having people message you and comments and all this, did you notice a difference at all in how you approach things or how you thought about things without having that noise?
I did.
I just want to put out there he was completely silent publicly about this prep, like he said. He 100. I couldn't post a fucking thing about it. So he stood true to it.
Yeah, I did. I mean, there's always going to be times when you're prepping and you see a photo and you're like, oh fuck, I want to put that up. But I was like, no, stick to the plan. You're not posting shit till the night before. And as you know, there's been people in New Zealand this year who have, there's tall poppy syndrome here. So people will hate you just because you have a nice car or because you're doing okay for yourself. So there was people that compete, putting up shit about me, talking shit, blah, blah, blah. And these people aren't good competitors. So I was like, fuck, you know what? You keep talking, keep running your mouth. I'm not going to say a thing, but I'll show you. I'll show you. And I showed them. I fucking showed them, all right? Like, so it's things like that helped. I don't need to talk. I'll just do the work, and you guys can talk, and you guys can post your photos every 2 days, and there's never any change in the photos anyway. So I don't know what you're trying to show everyone. But yeah, it did help, and it also helped me stay focused. Helped me. The thought of like no one knowing you're competing, you're going to rock up, also creates pressure on yourself because you're like, I need to look fucking good. So I'm going to do it like this. I can't do it like this and come in not good. So I need to work really fucking hard. It created it's hard to explain. It created like a level of focus that I was just so zoned in on what I'm doing. In my head, no one knows I'm competing, so I'm going to rock up and I'm going to shock people. So in order for me to shock people, I need to do every single thing that Dom tells me to do. And every time I go to the gym, I need to train like a fucking animal. And I did. Like, I swear to God, my training sessions, everyone says they train hard, they work hard. So I don't like saying it because everyone says it, but I fucking telling you, like, the training we did for that 20 weeks was like, it was on another level to what I've ever done. I remember another thing that happened during prep, my father put my fucking dog down 2 weeks out.
That's right.
That sucked. It was a week before Mum's anniversary, and I was already like quite a dark place. And then I get a call, oh, we need to put Charlie down. I'm like, you're fucking kidding me. So we put him down, and then we went to the gym. I went to the gym after, and I PB'd my stiff leg. I can't remember what I did, but it was like it was a personal best. And just things like that. Just not letting anything interrupt. I was very selfish as well with things like I train at 1 every day, no exception. I don't care what is happening. I'm training at 1 o'clock every day because that's what time me and my training partner train. That's what time my body's used to. And yeah, it was just our sessions were amazing. So I think I don't know if I would, like, now that I've done it once, it's not something I would consistently do and like never tell you I'm competing, because I feel like it's just one of those things. But in terms of this prep, just because like a comeback prep after 3 years, it definitely helped me stay focused, and it definitely kept my mind in a stronger place. And I would 100% recommend it to people that are wanting to do a show. But also another reason is, like, how many times you see people announce they're going to compete and then they pull out, and then you got to explain why they're pulling out, and they got to be like, oh, 10 weeks out, oh yeah, so some bullshit, and they're full of shit. I don't want to be that guy as well. I didn't compete for 3 years. I knew where my mind was at prior to the prep. I was like, what if that comes back 10 weeks out and I'm like, this isn't what I want to do? So there was multiple reasons, but it was mainly just because I wanted to show people that you don't need the validation, and I wanted to just stay focused on what I needed to do. And because to me, that's what bodybuilding is about. And when I started bodybuilding, that's how it was. We didn't post. No one gave a fuck. If we post, we'll get laughed at. Like, if I put my photos when I first started on Facebook back in the day, people didn't know bodybuilding. They'll just laugh at me and be like, what the fuck are you doing? So we just got on with it, and we just did it because we loved it. And that's what I wanted to go back to. And that's where I feel I'm at now. Just that old school, like true bodybuilding. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on it, Dom, from when you were a competitor? Because I know you personally, if you had it your way, you just, stay in a dungeon, train covered up, and never show the world anything. But how did you feel about showing yourself in prep leading up to shows?
I rarely ever showed myself. I mean, if
Right.
you go back, the New York Pro Prep, I think I showed a little bit more. I mean, a little bit more, but that's because I had, a big paying sponsor, and I was coming off turning pro so young. Could I have shown more? Absolutely. And then all this stuff happened, my mom getting sick. There was nothing really to show. But even when I was 16, there was MySpace. There was nobody like Jordan. There's nobody. I remember I never posted anything about it on MySpace, but I posted the pictures, and I remember going into school, and the kids were. I'll never forget being in chemistry class, and the kids in the middle class, is that you? Is that you? I'm like, yeah, that's me. Whatever. And then even when I was 18, I was with Gaspari and then Teen Nationals. I think I maybe posted like 2 pictures, 3 pictures. And especially training with Oscar, we weren't worried. He took pictures so we could document everything. And then even when I turned pro, there was two or three pictures I posted that whole prep. There was a front double bicep in my kitchen that you could hold the Mr. Olympian without lighting, the house that burned down. And I wasn't had a thing. I started, I was 18. The night before the show, I posted the morning of the show, I posted a picture of my quad and make people go nuts with it. But that was it. But if it was up to me, like honestly, man, I always say if I didn't have my business, I wouldn't have social media. I don't like viewing the negativity on there. I don't like seeing the fake personas. I don't like seeing the acting. And like Jordan said, man, I love that Dorian bodybuilding. I rarely ever walked around a gym in a tank top. I rarely ever walked around in a t-shirt. I was always in a sweatshirt. I was always wearing pants. It was just, I look back, was it kind of corny? I don't know, maybe, but I was there to train. I was there to train. I wasn't there to show off. I wasn't there to look at myself. I was there to prepare myself to go on stage. Um, and plus, two, you don't want to hear all these, like for me, I don't want to hear all these people tell me how great I'm going to do. The only people want to hear telling me that are those that are close to me, going to tell me the truth. Pick me up. Maybe at times I need to be picked up, but tell me when I look like shit. Because all these other people saying all this other stuff, in the grand scheme of things, we've seen with so many people, we pump these people up and they don't show up like anything anyway. And plus also too, that's like, in today's time and age, the competition in many shows is just not the same. And you have people getting pumped up on Instagram and they show up and they bring home hardware or whatever the fuck they want to call it. And there's no set standard for them to even compare themselves to. So I do believe Jordan went about it the perfect way, minimize that white noise of people hitting you up and telling you're going to do great and taking that pressure off of yourself too of like, okay, now I have to show up. I have to compete. I have to do well because the few times that I announced I was coming back and I didn't, I feel like a fucking fool after, I fooled that I posted that. I had my health issues, whatever. I didn't back out of any shows because I pussied out. It was because something happened, the last few times. And if I think often, if I was to redo it, if I was to come back now, if I was able to get the health and whatever, and if I didn't have the coaching was now, I wouldn't tell a soul. I would not tell a soul. I would literally I would post some training videos here and there of hard fucking training in sweats because that's what all the old school bodybuilders did. And I would show up the day of the show and fucking like Jordan did, just show everybody. To have that pressure, you're putting pressure on yourself. You're leaving yourself open for validation from others. But there's also the flip side of things too. Like for instance, social media, people do have followings. Tommy, you have a great following. Jordan has a great following. You guys have some genuine followings, but people do want to see what you're doing. And I think that's really cool. And plus, too, also there's a business side to it as well. But you can go about it without looking for validation and still looking for business. Like Flex Lewis, we thought he never posted a picture of himself. He had Facebook and then Instagram. So me, it's like shit, cover up, train hard as fuck, and just show up because that's what it's about. It's not about, and I didn't bodybuild for others. I did it for myself. I didn't care what others think. There was times, of course, I had the insecurities in the back of my head of, people look, of course, the ego boosting that went along. There's a big ego booster. That's why I'm happier being away from it too now, because now we all have a little, my ego has gone from here to way down here. I don't give a fuck how I look. As long as I look in shape and I look athletic and I can fight and I feel good, I'm happy with that, because that ego kind of gets into things, and insecurities come out with a lot of bodybuilders, and I got caught up with that many years ago. But there's nothing greater than not giving a fuck about what other people think and doing things, the cliche working in silence. Jordan actually did that. People post about working in silence, but that's, you're fucking talking. So I'm all about that, man. Like I'm all about just shutting the fuck up and and respecting the commitment to yourself and showing up for yourself, and whatever happens, happens, even if that means you fucking win. Because that is somebody who leads from the front and should be coaching people and shows us. You can post a picture here or there, that's fine. But every fucking day, every 2 days, like, come on, dude. Like, I mean, you better look damn good if you're doing that. But it's like, that's somebody that lead by fucking example and show people, like, I'm actually working. I'm not doing this for fucking likes and people to suck my dick.
A lot of people will post about like working in silence, and then they'll post about adversity and fucking mental health and all this bullshit. And it's like, motherfucker, you have no idea what it's like to work through adversity and mental health. Like, you got, not everyone, but like, you can see through the bullshit. And this is the problem with social media, is you see this stuff. I see it all the time, and it does my head. And I've worked with athletes. Like last year, when mum was literally on her deathbed, I had a client text me. She was like, "Hey, can we have a call today? I'm just really struggling." Like, as in, like, she did a show a few weeks before and she was struggling with getting back on the plane. I'm like, I'm spoon feeding my mum right now, and you want me to fucking ring you and try and tell you it's okay because you can't get back on your diet? I couldn't give a fuck. That's just the honest truth. Like, you know what I mean? Like, these people have no idea what it's like to go through actual stuff and still progress in what they're doing, or at least try and progress in what they're doing. So I just can't take so many people. I just can't take seriously, because, like you just said, they go on about working in silence. You're fucking posting about it. If you're posting about it, it's not silent. That ain't silence, bro. That's you're talking. Talking's not silent. And then, like, oh, I'm battling through adversity. Why? Because you lost your fucking Nikes. Like, you know what I mean?
It's because they're on a diet, and that's adversity.
Oh, bro, you can't have a donut. Oh, my life's so hard. Like, it's.
Somebody
I
posted
think when you go through hard shit, it really changes. Like, I can often, now when I'm coaching, I do struggle sometimes to be empathetic to people about things that I'm just like, that's ridiculous. Like, fuck, you've got no idea, like, what you have no idea what it's actually like to have a real issue right now. You know what I mean? So it does, but I think it makes you a better coach, because that shit shouldn't be a problem. So the fact that you crack down hard on it, Dom, you're exactly the same. I know you're probably more extreme than me when it comes to that kind of stuff, but which I love personally, and that's why we work well together, because we align. But a lot of people can't handle that. But I think it makes people better coaches, and I think all that does is bring out the best of people, and the people that it won't help are people that don't want it. You know what I mean? So.
Dude, absolutely. And like you just said, people have no idea. These mental health things are self-perceived things that these people are making about themselves, and adversity. And you made a good point about maybe lacking empathy. I mean, I think at times too, I'm like, there's things I'm working on to try to be a little empathetic, like the subject of death. I'm kind of like, hear about somebody's death, I'm like, all right, it's more of the same. It sounds horrible, I know, but when you've seen after what you and I have gone through, it's a little hard but I have to remember in those moments to bring myself down, because everybody deals with things differently. But I don't want to hear about how you're fucking cheating on your diet. Or there was this one guy who hired me. He took a month to hire me, and he said he had a whole bunch of family flying in, and he binge ate. So I gave him a chance. He didn't last 2 fucking weeks. And then he told me he had mental health issues because he went off his plan. When he came back with that, mind you, there was nothing going on in his life. I told him we wouldn't be a good fit. That's the shit that fucking irks me, because what happens when something truly serious goes on in your life? Do you just say fuck everything? And like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what those people do. But like you said, it does definitely make a good coach, because a coach shouldn't be there to rub your back and justify your pussy fucking actions, because you can't be a grown adult and respect the choices and commitments that you make. But a good coach will say, no, dude, like, there are times where you have to be empathetic. let's work through this, we'll get it. And that hits a certain point. But there's other points that say, no, you dealt with that. No, I dealt with this. You give them your example and hope. And it's not being selfish. It's not putting yourself on a pedestal because, my belief is too, God makes people go through some horrible fucking things in our lives. And for me, my faith is very important. I don't know how you guys are. And for a very long time, I struggled with a lot. I was a big drinker and wondering why me. I did the whole victimization shit. And God puts us through some horrific fucking things so we can be a testimony to show others that they can do if they're in a similar or whatever type of situation. So that applies to coaching. So like you said, Jordan, you hear somebody make some fucking outland. No, dude, no, I'm not going to accept that. You shouldn't accept it as an individual either. So let's keep on fucking pushing. So before I go down that rabbit hole too deep, I'm 100% with you on that people have no idea what stress is. Most people have no idea what real stress is. People have no idea what real mental health is. And most people have no idea what real adversity is. And I do feel for those people though, because when something serious does strike, I don't know what they will do. Bodybuilding will definitely not even be a thought, but other than everything else in their life, I don't know.
Those people will implode when real tragedy strikes them. Those people are walking time bombs. And I think about that all the time because because I'm very, I don't want to say fascinated with death, but I've always thought about death from a young age and learned to accept it. I was a paramedic. I pronounced people dead as a job. Like I would, dead body, call the morgue or call the physician, get the time of death, leave and go eat lunch. Like that was my life. Like I learned to remove it very quickly. Same thing with any deaths close to me. Like it sucks. You grieve, you do your thing, but you, as a man, especially, you still have to put your boots on and get to the next day. And I look at people, a lot of people, I just observe a lot, and I see people who are so dependent on someone or a dog or something. And I think like, man, have you processed what's going to happen when that person or that animal is no longer here? Because if you haven't, you're doing yourself a disservice to not like process that tragedy, because it will happen. You know what I mean? Like same thing with a bodybuilder who doesn't, process the end of body, because it's all coming. Dom, you're done bodybuilding. Jordan, at some point, you and I will be done bodybuilding. Like you have to know that this will come to an end. That way you can not get railroaded by it when it does get here.
Yeah, and that's a great topic because thankfully I had flex to retire with.
Right.
If I had to walk away without him, I got to be honest, I don't know how I would have handled it. I think it would have been probably devastating to me because I did everything I possibly could to come back. I spent an enormous amount of money on all the medical shit to try to come back. And just mentally, like I wanted to do it so fucking bad. I wanted to redeem myself from the New York Pro. I wanted to get to the Olympia. And having to come to that decision, I was like, dude, like I got to talk to you. And we met up. We literally made the decision pretty much within the same 2 weeks of each other or so. He was like 2 weeks before me. He goes, so let's talk about this. He's like, what are the positives and what are the negatives? And let's write them down. And we did. And he's like, I remember him saying, like, do the positives outweigh the negatives here? And I'm like, no. And he starts telling me all these other different things I can do. And he's like, Dom, he goes, you know me, I always will push you to be at your best. I know I will always support you no matter what you do. He goes, this is a choice you have to make for yourself, but look at this conversation that we're having. And if I didn't have him to go through that with me, after watching 7-time Mr. Olympia retire, after having all this hype of people doing the open class and people coming up to him every day, can't wait to, like, that's on a whole nother level than I was. That helped me tremendously. I had no choice but to walk away, but I'm glad I did because my life, between how all you guys are doing, how my personal life is, how I am mentally, how I'm physically, like everything's meant to happen for a reason. And, like you said, people think that won't be me, either it be ending a career, ending a sport, bodybuilding, somebody passing away, whatever. People always, I'm immune. Nobody's immune to a fucking thing. Like nothing. Nobody is immune to anything. Our lives are changing by the millisecond here. Like with all our choices, or we've spoken about choices or setting the path, and there's stuff that's not in our control that will continue to change our life. But yeah, people need to really start being aware and more conscious of what they are attached to, what their true purpose is, what their fulfillment comes from, um, and stop getting lost in all this other nonsense and start truly worrying and focusing on what's most important. And of course, living in the present too. So, and truly in the present. Most people who are involved in the bodybuilding are not enjoying the present. Like Jordan just had the best prep of his life. I have that pull me out of the equation. He fully lived in the moment without social media. He was as present as can be with him. He was selfish to himself in a great way. He focused on himself. He did everything perfect. He had a goal. He stuck to that goal without social media. And that takes a lot. So, being in the present and enjoying the present. And like I tell people, if you would view dieting, cardio, and training and being tired as an adversity, open the door for them and kick them the fuck out. Because if you don't enjoy that and you can't live in the present and enjoy that, this isn't for you, or whatever it is that you're entertaining is not for you. So really being in the present, enjoying it while it's here, because one day it won't be here. And that comes to relationships, friendships, anything. So, I think one of the biggest takeaways too, I would like to take away, from Jordan's story is just being in the present and just loving it. And him doing that also fixed him up here quite a bit with stuff that had nothing to do with bodybuilding. And if people could, again, I repeat myself for a reason, people could be more in the present and truly enjoy what they're doing and not doing it for the fulfillment and validation of others, you never know how you can change your life. Again, either it be bodybuilding or whatever, but also too, those things that are changing your life can one day come to an end, and most likely will.
One thing you said as well, just want to touch on, I think that's really important, is when you talked about Flex and how he helped you make that call to retire. Another thing I've learned this year is, like, I always knew this, but certain things happen which makes you further realize things. The people you have around you is so fucking important, and I feel like a lot of people don't put too much thought into who they have around them. They just like, oh yeah, this person. But like, imagine if you didn't have Flex and you didn't make that decision. You kept taking XYZ, kept pushing, blah blah blah, bro. Like, how different would your life be right now? Because I know you, obviously on a personal level, even health aside, who knows what could have happened health wise. But bro, look at your coaching this year. Like, you've always been a good coach, but this year it's on another level. That you probably wouldn't be in this position without having, you wouldn't with that. And that's just one person. And what I learned from, like, when mum passed, like, I had some real close friends, like family, like they were family that come to my house. My mum would invite them for dinner. She would cook for them. Like, they were fucking good friends. And my mum dies. Where the fuck are you? I haven't heard from these people. They just cut me off, like, randomly out of nowhere. Like, a week after, when you need them the most, I haven't heard from them for 3 months. I message them, what the fuck's going on? Oh, nothing. I just needed a break from blah blah blah. Yeah, but you're still seeing this person. Like, so you just cut them off. Whatever. You're not part of my story anymore. Fuck off. Good riddance. But then you've got those solid 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people that you can rely on, that go out of their way to help you when you need it. And those are the fucking people you want, because you can rely on them. And like, for me, they were the people that knew I was competing. So I didn't need many people to know. Probably 5 people knew. Somehow people started figuring it out anyway, but they could just probably just by my face or whatever. But that, like, they're the ones that are going to help you, push you through. Bodybuilding as well is such a small example, but with the prep they help, but more so just with day-to-day life. Hey bro, how are you, bro? Oh bro, I'll pick you up tomorrow, we'll go get coffee. Because they knew, like, oh, mum's anniversary was coming up, bro, we'll go get a coffee. I'm like, no, I'm good, bro. I'd rather just be by myself. To be honest, I'm fucking exhausted and I can't be bothered socializing, but I don't want to be rude. But just little things like that, it makes a difference. And when you need to make decisions about life, important things, you've got those solid people there that are going to tell you, right from wrong, or just give you their opinion. So I'm definitely a lot more aware of who I'm who I'm giving energy to outside of, obviously work and stuff is separate, but outside of that, I'm very much more careful of who I'm giving my energy to now, because I'm done with giving it to people who are just going to throw it back in your face, or done with people that you're just giving 80% of the time and you're getting 20% back. Like that's not how it should be. So yeah, it just reminded me of that when you were talking about flex.
Oh, it's a great point. It's about who you surround yourself with too. It's a great point, and it goes way beyond outside of bodybuilding. But again, you were living in the present to realize who's actually there for you and appreciate who's there for you. You know, when this podcast that Tommy put together isn't a bodybuilding podcast. You know, we talk about bodybuilding here, but it's about mindset. It's about what we're talking about now. You know, we just hit so many different points, and you just made a great one. You know, we went from being in the present, truly being in the present, and Jordan, to now, you know, you're talking about who you surround yourself with could completely change your life, either for better or for worse. You know, we've all been there and whatever in different phases of our life. So no, it's a really important part. Because again, as shit happens, like you said, you'll really learn who's there for you. And then when shit's great, you'll really, you know, you'll see who's there for you. And then there's gonna be a bunch of people that, bro, you're winning this and that. They want it, but then when everything comes to an end, and I had to see who's there for you, you know, either be a death, either it be leaving the sport, you know, a lot of those voices fade. But the ones that are meant to be there will be there no matter what. They're either going to love Jordan for Jordan, Jordan for the bodybuilder, Jordan for the coach. And one thing that I've always wanted, I just want people to love me as Dom for Dom. And that's it. So for a while I was Dom the bodybuilder. Bodybuilding was what made me. No, the fuck it wasn't, because now I look at the last year and a half. Last year was a little bit weird, but this year, I mean, again, even outside of coaching, you know, relationally, just everything has just completely changed, and it all stemmed back from flex. But everything comes to an end is what I'm going to circle back to on this, and we got to stay true to who we are and what we stand for and the values that we set forth to ourselves, because that's what's going to get us through life, through the hard and the good.
One more topic, one more little thing. Because we're talking about social media a lot, but in a negative light. But I think also, if you can separate the bullshit from the good stuff, like we're talking right now, us three, well, me and Dom, we've met, but you know, it's only because we've only linked up because of social media. Tommy, we talk quite often. It's only because of social media. So good can come from it, and we can meet cool people, and Tommy will train at some point, and you know what I mean. Dom will fucking eat more tacos and lobster ravioli at some point, and that's all because of Instagram. So it's not like, if you can separate yourself from all the fake bullshit and know the difference, it can be good. I mean, we all run successful businesses from it too. So but you said, like before, if it wasn't for your business, you wouldn't have it. But I think yeah, if you can, it's another thing I'm trying to work on, is just not getting emotionally too involved with shit I see, and kind of like just letting people do their thing. You write what you want, brother. You do what you want.
You just
correct, but I can see through it.
Correct. I take back what I say, and if I didn't have my business, I wouldn't have social media, because you just put a light bulb on in my head. Something I should have realized is that, yeah, I met you guys through fucking social media. Like, I met you, was it 3.5 years ago we started talking?
Yeah, we started working 3 years ago, so it would have been 3.5. Yeah, probably, because I messaged you a little bit prior.
Yeah, about 3.5. Tommy, we've been together for what?
Since April of 22.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, and then there are even people that I met on social media I don't work with that are just great people that I met my girlfriend on social media. We started talking on social media last year, you know. So, but I went right into her DMs. And she's gonna watch this, and then she said she would be a good cookie date. But anyways, you make a good point, because you know, I shouldn't talk so harshly about it like that, because now I try not to be looking at it. I try not, what people post, I try not to let it bother me. And then I go ahead and I tell you guys, if I didn't have the business that I wouldn't throw it away, because like I said, so many, you know, Jordan, you're in fucking New Zealand, and we were in Miami earlier this year. So you make a great point, to separate the positives from the negatives. Don't get so emotionally invested into it. focus on those positives that come from it. So I think that's an amazing point that, kind of readjusted the dials in my head.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to do. Turner and I talk about it a lot too, where he gets a little more amped up about the negative side of social media, especially social media with bodybuilding. But you also have to think about all the good. At this point, I think almost everybody I know or talk to is I probably met through bodybuilding and or social media at this point. Like, it's all these different podcasts that we can put out are platforms created through social media, and we share them on social media. A lot of the stuff I learn is from people I found on social media. The podcasts that I listen to were found through social media. So like you said, Jordan, you just kind of have to learn how to have a radar to like put the bullshit in its own bubble. And then, social media is just like a TV with a remote. You're in control of what you're consuming. I learned about the mute button a lot last year, and I just was like, I'm not going to unfollow you, but I don't like what you're talking right now. Maybe you're at a weird point in life. Mute. That way, my stories are clean. I don't get mad when I see shit. But I think part of it too is we've all been in bodybuilding a long time. So when we see new people come in and do new people type shit, it's very like exhausting to see that. But I try to remember, because I work with a lot of younger people, first time competitors, that like they almost have to go through this process to then be able to look back and realize like, oh yeah, I have matured from that point of my journey. You know what I mean? Like, you got to let them grow up, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Good point. Yeah, they got to go through it.
Yeah, they gotta do all the cliches that social media has created. And but yeah, I think a lot of people can, like, if you're struggling to lock in on bodybuilding and you're doing contest preps, like, take a page out of Jordan's book. Just do the Dorian. Don't talk about it. Other than your close circle of 3, 4, 5 people, no one should know you're doing a show. I remember Cade Zook always did that. In the day before North Americans, he put a picture of his competitor number on his story. That's how everyone knew he was doing North Americans. Never made one post.
That's
I had a bunch of people tell me they're going to do that. They're like, "Oh, you inspired me. Next time I compete, I'm not going to tell anyone." But I'm like, "You will."
Watch how many people. Yeah, exactly.
People can't help. Most people can't do it, and they can't help themselves.
Most people are addicted to this thing.
Yeah,
I have my own addictions to this things in my own right. But listen, I think it's great. It is great though that people have seen that you set that example though. Whether they follow it is up to them. But like I like to say, if you set an example for something, all we have to do is let one person follow that example. If they could take home something positive from it, that's a life change in some way.
just encourage people to work hard. That's all I wanted to do. It's not, I don't care how they prep or whatever. Just work hard, fucking buy into what you're doing, give it everything you have. Because a lot of people as well go, "I can't believe you did that while you coach so many people." But I'm like, yeah, but I coached a lot of people, but fuck, imagine having to like go and work a 10-hour physical job every day. I would take 17 clients at nationals any day of the week before that. So
yeah,
it is what it is.
Tommy, did you have anything else you want to hit on?
I think that covers it. We're at just about an hour. So just wanted to touch mindset. And I knew Jordan had a really good story about his prep that can definitely help people and provide value. So for everyone listening, like, share, comment, subscribe. This is our 4th episode. First guest, Jordan, congrats. Get that title. Definitely have you back to talk more shit and just help people out with mindset stuff, because bodybuilding is what we all know, and it's part of our careers as far as coaching and stuff, but it's also just the vehicle that we're able to callous our own mindset and learn, and then able to share mindset stuff with people needing it, or other coaches, whatever. So you can take what we're saying about what we've learned through bodybuilding or coaching and then apply it to your own thing. It doesn't, you don't have to be involved in bodybuilding to find value. So I enjoy talking about mindset and personal development. That's probably at this point in my life, that's my favorite thing to talk with people about, because that's all I think about when in my head when I'm doing cardio or walking outside, is just like, how can I get better? And it's just like a repetitive question that I ask myself.
I'm with you on that. Jordan, was there anything else you wanted to share?
Not off the top of my head. I think we're good.
Where,
We
where
talked
can where can everybody find you?
Plug yourself.
Instagram, Jordan Earl Fitness. That's where you can find me.
No, really, guys, seriously, yes. You know, if you don't follow Jordan, I highly recommend you follow him.
Follow me. I expect 1,000 new followers after this. 1,000.
Can't guarantee that, but you know, he is one of the best coaches in New Zealand, in my opinion. He is easily one of the best coaches, absolutely, if not the best coach. And I will put that out there. So, Jordan, thank you for coming on, bro, sharing everything. We're very happy to have you on as our first guest. Congrats on the win, and now let's get you fucking huge.
Right. All right, guys. Till next time, Jordan Earl, Dom Cardone. I'm Tommy Stiles. We are out of here.